Coming at you from the Grim, this is the Cyberspace Chronicles. I am your host, Mike.
I'm Sean, and he doesn't want the same thing that you want.
No, he doesn't. I don't want to be your friend anymore, Sean. I don't want to make our own perfect world in our own shatter space together.
No.
I'm sorry.
Oh, well.
But today, we are coming to talk to you about Sonic Prime Season 2. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time since I watched Season 1.
Yeah, really. We did that a long time ago.
So I had to briefly refresh myself about what happened on the end of the season finale.
Yeah.
So, this is the second batch of Sonic Prime.
Yes.
And what did you think of it?
Overall, it was interesting. I felt like it was, there was obviously a lot more world hopping and stuff, but it almost felt like a smaller story in some ways. I don't know how, I'll try to explain it later, but we got more character moments, I think.
I think we're going to go through it episode by episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think I liked it, but it felt like it was still building up to something, I guess.
I think this season suffers from middle of the story syndrome.
Right.
And you will see with the middle episodes especially, that's very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll just do it. We'll start with episode 1, which I think is the best episode this season.
Okay. Maybe, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. I think this season's got a really strong beginning and end.
I agree with that.
And
for sure.
it kind of lags in the middle.
Sure.
We'll talk about that.
I mean, I felt like season one did that too, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's more apparent here.
Mm-hmm.
So first episode, season 2, episode 1. I mean, technically this is all season 1. They just split it. There's
Into
one
parts,
season they
yeah.
split it in 3 parts. But
Right.
for simplicity, Netflix has them divided up into 3 seasons.
Yes.
We're just going to call it season 2. Season 2, episode 1, Avoid the Void. This one's directed and written by Eric Weiss and Logan McPherson. Eric Weiss he directed all the episodes in season 1, I noticed.
Oh, okay.
In this season, they have different directors for each episode.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
think that shows a little more in this season.
Sure. That makes sense.
This episode specifically aired on YouTube on July 4th of last year, 2023. Right. When we're recording, that was last year.
Yes.
The rest of the season, though, was released on July 13th, 2023.
Right.
So they did the thing again like they did with season 1 where they released the first episode early on
Wasn't
another
that on
platform.
Like Roblox or something?
That was on Roblox.
Yeah, it was on Roblox.
This time it was
That's
just
right.
they just
Just
dropped
on
it on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah. So right away, yeah, again, I think this was probably my favorite episode this season.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one. So after the kind of recap, I guess what happened at the end of the last season, the very end of that last episode, he was in No Place with the pirates, and Dredd was going after the blue prism shard, and then Dredd gets it, and then Sonic
touches it.
Sonic gets knocked back into the void, and then it kind of
right.
it ends with him seeing Shadow again.
Yeah, and Shadow's like, "What have you done, Sonic?"
Exactly. So that's kind of where this one picks up. Mm-hmm. It kind of starts. We see Shadow's side of the story.
Yeah.
So he's been hanging out in the void, and he's able to see the other shatter spaces and watch what Sonic's been doing.
Right.
Throughout last season, we were seeing Sonic when he runs really fast. Sometimes he will see Shadow, and Shadow will be saying things, and we see that Shadow has been trying to talk to him, and we get to see those different moments, like when he's imprisoned by the Chaos Council, and they have him running in the sphere, and Shadow's trying to reach him.
Yeah,
but it's obviously not working for him, and he's unable to go into the shatter spaces.
Yes.
He can only kind of look from the outside in.
Yeah, because he wasn't caught in the blast, I believe is the reason for that, right?
Yeah, well, he chaos controlled
out of the
at the moment when the blast happened.
Right. So that's why he's not in the shatter space because of that. He's sort of an outlier.
So Sonic comes back into the void, and Shadow's really pissed off, so they have a fight.
Yep.
I just thought it was cool to see Shadow's side of things.
Yeah.
And they kind of show off the mechanics of how shatter space works.
Right. They explain it pretty clearly. It's not super complicated or anything.
Right. Shadow kind of wants to fix everything himself now. He doesn't trust Sonic to do it.
Yeah, he's
Sonic
like, Sonic, you're done.
Which, admittedly, he's not wrong because Sonic has been causing a lot of issues.
Yeah, I will say I think what's strong in this show is that in a lot of media, you're like, oh, Shadow's kind of just being grumpy. Like, he's going to help eventually. I don't know why he's got to act this way. In this show, I think he has a really good reason for the way he's acting because Sonic has been messing everything up. The entire show is about Sonic making mistakes.
No, I kind of find it hard to disagree with him in this. Like,
Yeah, me
Shadow
too.
pretty much seems like to be the most responsible one.
Yeah.
And the one who's the most driven to fix everything.
Yes.
Like, that's his whole motivation is like, I just want to set everything right. I did see an article. I actually didn't read it, but it was basically about how, like, they felt like Shadow was being misused this season.
Yeah.
I kind of agree and disagree.
Right.
I kind of feel like, in my opinion, my two favorite characters in this show are Shadow and Nine.
Okay.
And I feel like with Shadow, he is kind of the anchor to the main plot. Like, he is what the main drive and conflict, which is fixing the reality.
The Shadowverse, right.
And he's the main plot, but he isn't because he's so disconnected from what's actually going on in the Shatter Spaces. And I think that, again, we touched about it when we talked about season 1, but I think that's mostly Sega's doing because they don't want him going in the Shatter Spaces and having variants or whatever.
Right. For whatever reason.
Because Shadow has to stay a certain way.
Yeah.
So he's kind of removed, but also, again, like I said, he's kind of the anchor to what's going on with the main storyline.
Yeah. I just really, it's nice to have a good Shadow in a TV show that we can root for and enjoy. And
it's nice to have a good Shadow in general.
I mean, in
haven't
general.
had one in a while.
I mean, yeah, we have the IDW Shadow who's good when he shows up.
But even IDW Shadow is controversial. So
for sure.
A lot of fans, like I remember in the Metal Virus arc, spoilers for the Metal Virus arc. If you haven't read IDW, click ahead maybe a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But he, maybe not even a couple minutes, I'm just going to say it real quick. There's the part where he is fighting the Zombots, and then he kind of like lets himself get
infected.
Yeah, because he wants to fight.
Yeah, that was stupid, but
yeah, and I know like one of the things in IDW, I think Ann Flynn implied on the Bumblecast that they're trying to avoid writing Shadow right now, so he's just kind of been absent from the comics.
Yeah, he doesn't really show up.
They're kind of like waiting until Sega changes their views on Shadow and how to handle his character.
Yeah, I think the good news is hopefully with this coming out, the movie
and the
with
Shadow
Generations game, I hope they'll start to change. The nice thing about Sega is they do seem to eventually go back and renege on stuff that's dumb. We don't have 2 planets anymore.
Right.
All that stuff does eventually disappear.
And that's the thing. Like, I get frustrated by these things, but I tend to just see what's going to change in the future because they never...
You got to play the long game.
They always pull back on things like that.
For sure. And I think this is a good first step for that because we have a really cool Shadow that I think everybody likes. There's nothing to dislike about him.
Been a lot of positive reception to his portrayal in Prime.
Yeah.
Especially just his voice, the voice performance is great.
Mm-hmm.
Just how he's characterized in general, just him being more responsible and like mature.
Mature, definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, he loses his Chaos Emerald, though. He drops it into the void, which I wonder if we're going to see how that comes back. I mean, I guess they don't really need to explain it. Again, a lot of people listening to this probably already watched season 3.
Yeah, we haven't
yet, so we're just going into this like we don't know what's going on in season 3. If they don't explain how he gets the Chaos Emerald back, I guess it's not a big deal because Chaos Emeralds always find their way back into the special stage anyway.
You would almost assume that once Shatter Space disappears and the normal universe is restored, the Chaos Emerald would just appear back in Green Hill, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason they have the Chaos Emerald in this show is just for Shadow to use Chaos Control. That's it. It's not important to this storyline at all. They start fighting, and it's a very... Just like last season, it's a very, very good fight.
Yeah.
Now, first off, I think when they start fighting in the void itself, it's all right. There's a lot of like, I do like how Shadow kind of flies around with his shoes.
It looks really cool.
They're really taking advantage of his hover shoes in this.
Yeah.
They get to the point where they fight, and then they go and they find the shatter space for Green Hill Zone. And this is the only one that Shadow can go in. And this is apparently because it's like an incomplete shatter space.
Right, it's not a full complete one.
Yeah. So they rename it Ghost Hill.
Right.
Which I kind of like. Shadow's theory is that it's just kind of like the universe is just kind of tormenting them because they can see like after images of their friends.
Of their friends, yes.
But they can't, interact with them in any way. But I do kind of like how Shadow he kind of wants to fix everything himself. He's not just telling Sonic, you go fix it. He's like, no, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do anything. But...
Yeah, so he does. I guess it's worth mentioning. I guess just to be clear, he manages to take Sonic's gear that Nine made for him,
right,
to help him in the shatter spaces. He goes right up to the entrance to one, and it blocks him. He can't go through. So he's fine. Like, all right, well, I guess you have to do it. But look, like, let's do this smart this time.
Yeah, he's like, we need to work together. And which they kind of make a big deal about.
Because Sonic is making fun of him.
I prefer it when Shadow and Sonic they're not friends, but like I kind of
Shadow has no friends.
Of course, but I kind of liked it in Sonic 06. That's one of my favorite Shadow characterizations in that game. Say what you want about that game, but Shadow is written pretty well. And I like when they kind of have a respect for each other, and they can kind of rely on each other. In this one, I mean, this is a version of Sonic who keeps messing up, and Shadow just kind of recognizes that. And I personally would hate for Shadow just to sit on the sidelines while Sonic does everything. I mean, he kind of does anyway, but it's not because of his own choice.
Right.
But anyway, their fight in the Ghost Hill, it rules. I think it lives up to the fight in Season 1. And I like how they go through a variety of environments. Like they're fighting by the beach, they go underwater, they go back into the void. It's cool. And I think there's a moment where Shadow even kind of poses like he does in Shadow the Hedgehog, like the box art.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And also another touch I like is when they're fighting in the water. You could see Shadow's kind of like swimming, but Sonic sinks to the bottom.
Right.
So nice little attention to detail. And the way he can teleport is by running really fast.
Right.
And he does the super peel out.
Yeah.
In the game or in the show.
But,
in Sonic CD, he travels through time.
I didn't even think of
by
that.
running really fast, and that's where the super peel out comes from.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it kind of feels like the mechanics line up with Sonic CD.
That's so cool. I didn't think about that.
I enjoy that. Again,
yeah,
I don't know if maybe that was intentional, but maybe not.
Maybe. I feel like there are very few people in the world who pay enough attention to Sonic CD to even do that.
I love Sonic
CD.
I
do too. It's one of my favorite Sonic games of all time.
I know that's also a divisive game, but I like it. One day we'll review it. I just think it was funny how Shadow stole Sonic's passport because he just really loves Latinos. If you just search that on YouTube to know what I'm talking about. But also, I did like the moment when they were in the void. Shadow starts falling into the abyss where the Chaos Emerald went, and Sonic dives after him and catches him. I see this as a way, like it kind of parallels Sonic Adventure 2, where we can kind of see how far their relationship has come. Where in Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow falls to Earth, but nobody catches him or saves him.
Yeah.
But here, Sonic does. Yeah, and we could see at least that they've grown a little bit, even if they're not closer, really friends.
And we have been told, and I forget if we talked about this in the first episode, but they have said that this show is canon to the games.
They
right?
say
so
that
games happened as far as we know,
despite the inconsistencies with some of the story points, like everyone living in Green Hill and stuff like that, or Sonic being surprised that someone made a robot of him, which we will have to touch on when we get to that episode.
Of course.
That's also a little inconsistent with the games.
That's right.
And Sonic's characterization in general. But but this is apparently canon. Anne Flynn also, like we said last time, Anne Flynn provided consultation on the story.
Right.
Apparently, I did like Sonic gloating the Shadow though, how he saved his life. I feel like that was very on brand for his character. As much as I will give crap for Sonic's characterization being off from the games, he has moments that feel very Sonic, that feel like it could come from Game Sonic.
I mean, just speaking very briefly, I think his characterization in this show is very good.
I don't hate it. I'm just saying
really
it's different.
It's different, but it's in a way that it's like it's more realistic because Sonic, and this is I'm surprised they were able to get this through, honestly. Like Sonic wasn't supposed to make mistakes or fail or cry or for a long time. And this is the first time we're seeing in a long time seeing Sonic make mistakes, do the wrong thing.
He makes a lot of mistakes.
He makes constantly, and I really like that idea. And I think it's much more realistic than what we've had for a while.
Because we talked about how the main idea for this show was that they wanted the conflict to be Sonic's fault and him fixing it.
Right.
But that keeps happening. Like he keeps messing up.
Yeah, I think it's great, and that's I'm looking forward to season 3 because I want to see, okay, does Sonic learn his lesson?
Now, to be fair to Sonic, some of the mistakes he makes is because he's trying to do the right thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And he does that with 9, which we will talk about when we get to the last episode.
I mean, that's what I like about it. It's he's doing everything in character. It all makes sense for him.
Yeah.
And it's what he should do. And Shadow's trying to be like, yo, you got to ignore we'll get to this, but he's like, you got to ignore these like Shadowverse people. And Sonic's like, I can't. They're my friends. I gotta help them. I think that's really cool.
We haven't gotten to season 3, but I wonder what's going to happen when they figure out that these Shatterspace versions are probably going to go away if they fix everything. And I'm sure that's gonna put some internal conflict into Sonic.
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed that Shadow wasn't going to go into the Shatter Spaces with Sonic, but at least he's kind of taking a bigger role this season.
Yeah.
But I really liked the first episode. I thought it was a nice reintroduction to the story, and which again with Shadow there, I feel like this show's at its best
for sure.
So
let's leave Shadow behind now.
Yeah, let's leave him behind, and we're going to go to our favorite setting, the Boss Cage Maze.
Ugh.
This is episode 2, Battle in the Boss Cage. This one's directed by Andrew Duncan and Kieran Sanghara. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correct. If I'm not pronouncing that correct, you could send hate mail. You could send it all to Sean though.
Yeah, send it to me. I don't care.
Yeah, every mistake I make is Sean's fault.
It is. I actually told him to do it.
Yeah, and it's also written by Marcus Reinhardt.
Okay.
Again, I really like 9. He's kind of outsmarting everyone again.
Yep, as usual.
Because he's kidnapped in this season. He's kidnapped by the Egg Council.
He's with the Egg Council,
Chaos Council.
The Chaos Council.
I always call them the Egg Council.
Me too.
Because I'm like, it's Eggman.
Yeah, they're Eggmen. The Eggmen.
I always have to correct myself. But anyway, he's kidnapped by them, and they're in their mothership chasing them around
through Shatterspace.
Yes. Trying to collect the shards.
Yeah,
and they follow them to the Boss Cage Maze. Boss Cage Maze.
That's hard to say 3 times fast.
So there's not a lot going. So this is episode. I kind of feel like this is where it drops off a cliff, and then it kind of steadily climbs back out. I think this is the worst episode of the season.
I remember they went to the Boss Cage Maze. I remember there's something. What's the Rouge counterpart called? Jade something?
No, it's
Teal.
It's Prim, isn't it?
Prim, you're right. Primrose or whatever. I remember she's like, I don't want to fight, but then she does.
Yeah. So
and I don't remember anything else
because Thorn. Okay, yeah. So that was my problem. So I feel like the middle episodes of this season blend together because it's a lot of the same. It's very repetitive. It's a lot of the same thing. They go to a place. The Egg Council comes. Chaos Council chases after them, and then they have a big fight with robots. And that's it. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
They do that.
And all the people are mad at Sonic because they think he betrayed them.
Right. Well, that's especially with the pirates.
Well, yeah, definitely.
The Boss Cage people they're not in this a lot this season.
Which is they're the weakest ones by far.
I feel
so
like
fine.
it. Yeah. So but Thorny is fighting the Chaos Council.
Yes.
But the other ones want to stay out of it. She's got Oh, she's hiding the shard in Birdie. That's right.
Yeah, Birdie ate it.
Yeah. They're trying to find where the shard is and all that. And then Sonic goes and he talks to Prim and the others, and he tries to convince them to help Thorny, but they want to stay out of it, like you said. Nine is helping from the ship. He's in touch with Sonic, and he's communicating with them. And there's a point where he hacks into one of the Egg Forcers and talks to Sonic.
Right.
And he kind of gives him his like video game upgrade, where he's like, now you can teleport, you can touch prism shards without teleporting yourself. That was the upgrade.
Yes. And it's 9 is also at the same time kind of trying to turn the Chaos Council against each other, which I really like.
Oh, it's great because he's
playing them.
He's you could tell like he's just smarter than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. It's funny because we just obviously finished Sonic Adventure 2, and we were talking about how Eggman outsmarts Tails. Yeah. And now we get to see Tails outsmart Eggman, which is kind of a fun reversal of that.
I just kind of feel like the Chaos Council is just dumber than regular Eggman to a degree.
They are, but now's a good time to ask you. Like, did you feel like they were kind of the standout characters in season 2?
The Chaos Council?
Just the Chaos Council in general?
I think they were used better.
Yeah.
So I noticed, I think we said it in the first discussion, was that I felt like Mr. Dr. Eggman, Dr. Babble, and Dr. Deep were utilized a lot, but the other two, Dr. Dunnett
and Dr. No.
Dr.
Don't.
They were barely used.
Yeah.
I feel like all of them were all used like a little bit more. I thought, I actually, so I kind of nothinged Dr. Dunnett, the old one.
Yeah.
Boomer Eggman, as I call him sometimes. I kind of like nothing him in season 1, and this season I kind of find myself liking him a little bit.
I do too, yeah.
And it's mostly comes down to the fact that like he's willing to call out the other Chaos Council members and be like, "No, you guys are idiots."
Right.
Like,
I've done this before. Trust me.
Yeah, it's in his name.
In the name.
But that kind of comes up more later in the season.
Yeah.
Before we started, I was kind of going over the episode synopsis again because, again, these middle episodes
blend
together for me, and I had to remind myself what happened in each specific episode. Dr. Don't, he kind of gets involved, but also like his way of fighting just isn't interesting because he just sends robots at people. Like
that's always his strategy.
I mean, I guess Dr. Dunnett does it too, but I kind of appreciate. Again, I like his character a little more this time.
Well, it was fun. They were arguing. It was. I think it was, or maybe it was Deep and Dunnett, but they were arguing about the robots. And I'm like, well, just send bigger robots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they make bigger robots later.
Yeah, it was great.
But I think that's in when they get the New Yoke.
I think you're right. But I mean, I feel like at this point, let's just move to episode 3 because there's just not a lot to say.
No, there isn't, and I'm struggling. So, that was the point I was going to say.
All right, there we go.
I was reading the synopsis for the episodes before we started just to refresh myself what was going on, and this specific episode has the tiniest description because not a lot happens.
Not a lot happens, yeah.
No, I didn't like when Sonic is chasing after the Chaos Council. First off, we get a scene where Prim Rouge is airlifting him, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to see someone airlifting Sonic besides Tails.
Right.
But also, I thought it was visually impressive when he gets back to the Void and you get that scene where he's chasing after the mothership. I thought that was like a really cool, like visually, it was a really cool looking scene. And he's kind of like also jumping off the shards, and it kind of reminds me of games like Sonic Adventure or Sonic 06 where you get those quick time kind of events where you're jumping across different. It's like pads in Sonic Adventure.
Right,
You're jumping across
cool.
different surfaces.
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. I just kind of thought this was a mid episode.
For sure.
Premiere was better. It was just kind of a boring Boss Cage maze episode with Dr. Babble as the main villain. Dr. Babble, I will say, is my least favorite of the Chaos Council. I just think he's annoying. I think he's annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Straight
he
up.
Sucks.
There was some fun little bits of trivia I found about this episode. So apparently, it's not apparent because I went back and looked. Sonic's when Sonic's talking to Prim and like, you have to go help Thorny, and she's like, no, I don't want to go help, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go help. When he says I'm gonna go help her, if you look at his eyes closely, you can kind of see they glow blue for a little bit second. It's very subtle.
Huh.
This is apparently a reference to the movie. where like you know how like he has the electric blue energy.
Blue energy, sure.
I didn't find any source to verify this. I read this on the wiki. It seems like a bit of a reach for me. But I mean, his eyes do turn a little bluish.
Do you think it was an animation error?
I don't know.
Like, who knows? That's very bizarre.
There's also 2 other references that are also like I don't have to verify because it's very obvious. There's a Matrix reference when they throw buzzsaws at Thorny and she does the Neo dodge.
Who doesn't do that nowadays, though?
People used to do it all the time back in the aughts, but we don't do it anymore as much. And then there's also there's a Sonic Unleashed reference when they're fighting when he's fighting Dr. Babel. He kind of does a dive, and it's the same pose that he does in the opening movie in Sonic Unleashed when he's fighting Eggman, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go into episode 3. This one's called Second Win, and it's directed by Ishii Rudell and written by Charlotte Fullerton. This is the one. So they go back to they're back in No Place with the pirates.
Yes.
This kind of picks up right after where we last saw Dredd.
Right.
And he was trying to find the Prism Shard. Well, he did. He got the Prism Shard, the blue one. He goes back to No Place, and Dredd's got the blue shard. The Chaos Council chases after him. They got like a second ship called the Yokomotive or whatever.
Something like that. I can't remember the name.
It's Dr. Deep and Dr. Dunnett.
Together.
In this one, which I like this combination better.
Me too.
They hijack the Kraken, which is the other ship they had. It was the one that Rusty was on, and they got her tied up. The Chaos Council abandons Rusty, and this is when she has her turn.
Yeah, so she decides now to join the heroes to fight the Chaos Council as opposed to being programmed to in season 1.
I think the Chaos Council was kind of dumb to betray her because it's like, of course, she's going to start working with the heroes.
And they even said that later. They're like, oh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Oh, really? You think?
Yeah.
Like,
oops.
She's got all this intel and, like, she knows everything about you guys.
Yep. But it was cool to see her and Pirate Amy become friends.
Yes, I did like their relationship. That was honestly a standout. She's also one of my favorite characters.
Rusty Rose is the best Amy character.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites in this show. I have to say though, I was a little disappointed at first that she didn't. She's like when she defected, she didn't join Sonic. She specifically joined the Pirates.
The Pirates, yeah.
And when Dredd kind of tricks everyone into thinking that Sonic's the enemy, she's even siding with them.
Right.
I was like, oh, well, you kind of know Sonic longer than these guys, but...
Yeah, but, those are...
I guess Sonic's an idiot in this show.
He is an idiot.
There was a nice moment when they were fighting the Chaos Council that Big and Tails, it's Catfish and Sails, though.
Right.
They do the fastball special where he throws Tails.
Right.
I don't know if this was shown last season, but Dredd has the sword and it gets charged up.
Yeah, and
the prism shard.
The prism shard.
You can shoot energy out of it. You can,
I did want to mention, I guess, I forgot that he said this in season 1, but he calls the prism shard his beauty.
Yeah, I remember that.
In a pirate voice. But not his booty, his beauty.
Yeah.
I just thought that was very weird. Every time he's like, my beauty, I'm like, don't you mean your booty? Maybe they felt like you can't say booty on Netflix. I don't know.
Well, he's not talking about Rouge, so it's not his booty.
I just thought that was so strange. Like, me beauty.
Yeah.
Like, it should be my booty, right?
It's very Gollum-y.
Yes, he's immediately consumed by the ring.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
I do kind of appreciate how the show does have a very focused objective this season with Sonic specifically hunting the Prism Shards before the Chaos Council. It does feel like the plot has more focus.
I guess it is interesting that, since you bring that up, in these, I forget, are they in No Place for 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Is it 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
These 2 episodes, Sonic is like, yeah, I'm just going to get the shard. I'm going to kind of lie. He doesn't lie, but he doesn't tell the whole truth to the pirates. He's like, I just got to get the shard.
Right.
He kind of changes that as well over the season. He's like, wait, these are real people too. I need to. In general.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He does start later on in the season. He does kind of start cluing them in on what's going on. It's just kind of a thing. It's like, are you really going to waste time trying to explain to these people because they're obviously not going to listen,
right?
Especially Dredd.
Yeah, right. Who's completely gone at this point.
Most of them don't care about Sonic fixing his world.
Yeah, why would they?
They're all like, they all have their own problems. You know what I mean?
And it's interesting. He doesn't seem to understand why they wouldn't care.
Right.
So, well, don't you guys want to stop existing?
Yeah. Well, nobody knows that yet.
We don't know,
but I feel like
assume.
I feel like that's going to be a big thing with 9 next season.
I would think so too.
Yeah. Like, are you really going to get rid of me for your original tales?
Right.
Like, I thought we were friends. That's probably going to be part of the driving force of the conflict. Again, I appreciate how the Chaos Councils are actually being used more this time. I don't know. They're still kind of growing on me.
See, so they were my favorite characters this season. And I liked watching them fight more than I liked anything else.
Okay.
I was really into them.
All right.
I just thought it was cool to see them all arguing with each other and bickering. And
I do like how they feel more unique to each other.
In this season, you really get like, okay, these are all... I loved when Dr. Don't was making fun of Mr. Dr. Eggman.
Yeah.
He was like, no, this is how I talk. Or whatever.
You're right.
So funny.
We touched on how Black Rose and Rusty have a nice relationship. That was also like a standout to me.
For sure.
For this season. I like their little camaraderie. I like their little competitive rivalry when they're shooting together.
Since we're talking about Lord of the Rings, yeah, they're doing a Helm's Deep battle.
Yeah. Dredd, he's still kind of a jerk. He hasn't changed much since he almost sacrificed his Jacksepticeye crew.
Right.
And so he's still willing to like let his crew die in order to get the Prism Shard.
Yeah, you almost think Sonic should have just let him be and let him like party and be happy. He kind of ruined this dude.
Yeah. I also wrote down on my notes, like, really, the Chaos Council couldn't think to turn the ship on and off again. For smart guys, these guys are really dumb.
Well, I mean,
just like, power cycle the ship.
Our producer, who's a very intelligent person, he also makes similar mistakes, I'm sure, sometimes.
Oh yeah, so he makes mistakes all the time.
The smarter you are, the dumber you act, maybe. I love you're nodding your head.
Is this the one where they go? Oh yeah, it is. It's the one where they go underwater. They have like an underwater chase.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you were saying how you hate it when they go to the pirate world, and he was like, "Oh my god, it's Green Hill under the water."
I hated it.
They do that again and I'm like, Sonic, come on, you know about this.
You already saw this here.
Yeah, they make a big deal about like when they go underwater. It's like, oh wow, it's Green Hill, and then Dredd crashes into the loop and destroys it.
Yep. Good job, Dredd.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. That's how like non-important these episodes are.
I know. This is a very action-oriented show, and there's a lot of fighting in the middle of the season. I mean, there's a lot of fighting in the show in general, but I feel like these middle episodes are kind of defined by their fights. It's just like that's the whole.
It's like, oh yeah, that was a cool fight that episode.
Yeah, but the problem is when they're just fighting swarms of robots, it just feels very samey.
I'm somebody who like I'll fall asleep in a movie during the action scenes because they don't make me excited or anything. I'm just like, oh, like okay, they're fighting. I know the hero's gonna win.
And while I really enjoy the Sonic and Shadow fights, the fights with the robots,
they're boring.
Yes,
there are no stakes. You know Sonic's gonna win.
I had the idea watching this time around that. So the Egg Forcers are very SWAT bot like like they're they have a uniform design, but I kind of feel like they just get boring after a while. And I think what would have been more interesting is if each of the member of the Egg Council had their own robots.
That would have been cooler
with their own visual style.
Right.
So like imagine if Dr. Babel had like his robots were like toy themed.
Right. Oh,
and
that's so cool.
Like Dr. Deep were like shinobi themed,
right?
Or
like ninjas
shogun
and
themed,
samurais and stuff. Yeah, that'd be cooler.
Something like that.
Yeah. That would be too many models for them.
That's the problem. It would have been a little more expensive, and they would have had to spend more time modeling 3D modeling. I don't know.
They could probably use the money that they use not paying union and voice actors to to pay their not unionized CG modelers and animators.
I do have to say I did enjoy some of Sonic's banter in the fight with the pirates versus the Chaos Council. I again, this is a moment where Sonic feels very much like Sonic as we know him, especially from the games. But this one, this episode 3 is all right. It's not. I think it's a little bit of an improvement over the second episode, and there was a little more twists and turns in this one. But it's, again, I really like episode 1. Then it dives off a cliff, and it steadily climbs its way out of that cliff.
Into episode 8, yeah.
For me.
All right.
So let's just move on to episode 4, No Way Out, directed by Joel Salesay and written by Patricia Valletto. Again, send your hate mail to Sean for me mispronouncing it. But so Sonic, he runs off the ship. By the way, when he's running on the water, there's parts so his shoes, when he's in no place, he can just kind of stand on the water.
Right.
I thought it was weird. Like, I was used to him doing the super peel out. When he was just kind of like walking normally, I'm like, wow, that looks weird to me. When he's just kind of like walking normally on the water, that's not a complaint. That's just more, that's a nitpick. But I was just thinking about that. But he goes and he fights on their ship, and then he comes back to the Kraken. When he gets back there, the crew has turned on him because they fell for Dread's lies.
Right.
I thought the crew kind of fell easily for it because it's obvious Sonic didn't betray them. Because like Sonic says, he came back.
He did come back.
But I guess they're just very loyal to their captain.
Sure. If he's the one who's shooting lightning out of his sword, I would kind of be loyal to him too.
Yeah. I still kind of wish Rusty gave Sonic the benefit of the doubt, but again, he's an idiot. So.
Right.
The Chaos Council, they go back.
Their ship breaks down.
They get the shard. They get the shard eventually.
Right.
Yeah, they take the shard.
Their ship gets messed up.
Well, because Shadow messes it up.
That's right.
Yeah, and I do like that Shadow's getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
He still hasn't met the Chaos Council directly yet.
No.
He's still.
But then they're like, oh, there's 2 of them now.
Yeah.
And Dr.
Oh yeah.
Doctor, I did like this was a cool part for Dr. Donna. He was like, yeah, like you guys know we're in a Shatterverse. You should be expecting this. They're like, be ready for anything.
It's people are still getting Sonic and Shadow mixed up.
It's normal. It's just that's just how it is.
Never mind the fact that they're 2 completely different colors.
Hedgehogs are colorblind. We've been over this.
Are mad scientists colorblind?
Yes.
Okay.
They have all those. They have their sunglasses on. It's hard to see.
I was kind of hoping he would get to infiltrate the mothership at some point.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
Maybe not. Maybe next season.
Yeah.
We'll see more.
I just feel like when there are certain characters, when they're on screen, they elevate the show for me. One of them is Nine and the other is Shadow.
Yeah.
And I was saying how it's weird how he's disconnected to what's going on and his agency is limited in this storyline. By all means, this should be a bad thing. But I kind of feel like this is fixed by the fact that like what he's doing is kind of the main plot.
Mm-hmm.
And his character interactions with Sonic are very enjoyable.
Are good, yeah.
And also the performance by Anne Hanlon, who plays him, it's stellar. There's the fight scene where what does Froggy do when?
Oh yeah.
Doesn't Froggy he doesn't he attack Sonic at one point?
Yeah, he does, and he's like, Froggy, not you too.
Yeah, I was like, Froggy don't take no prisoners. Mother Frogger straight up trying to murder Sonic. Oh, poor Big felt conflicted.
Yeah. He must have eaten a Chaos Emerald again.
I know, or he's been possessed by Chaos.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I do like how, again, we touched about the relationship, but I liked how Black Rose is getting through to Rusty. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice. Leave it to another Amy to open up the heart of this Amy. Yeah, it's nice. And it's cool seeing, we get to see Dread glide and climb like Knuckles in this episode, which is also fun.
All I remember from this episode this is the episode where Sonic runs on water a lot and complains about it. A lot of Back to the Future kind of vibes. He's like, I can't run 88 miles per hour on this water.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he's always trying to build up speed.
Right, he needs to get to 88 miles per hour.
I said he's living the life of many Sonic CD players who struggle to find an area to build up speed and go back in time.
Skill issue.
Actually, yes. If going off subject here, if you're playing Sonic CD and you struggle to use the time travel mechanic, remember that the game 9 times out of 10 will put an area nearby where there's like enough stretch to run really fast. They're always by the signpost. Usually, a lot of times the game will put like 2 springs next to each other that you can just jump in between. So I mean, as someone who doesn't have a problem using the time travel in Sonic CD, just remember that. Like, just next time you play that game, touch a signpost.
Just don't suck.
And then look around your environment and see where you could run.
Yep.
But anyway.
Yeah, Sonic should have done the same thing in this episode.
Yeah, he should have looked for 2 springs that bounced them back and forth. Yep. I was just going over the synopsis here, and like again, this is the episode where the Egg Council kind of holds the pirates at hostage, kind of like they're like, you know, they're on the mountain and they're like, hand over the shard or we're gonna do bad things to Nine.
Right.
And then Sonic's kind of forced to hand over.
Oh, he hands over the shard.
Right.
That's right.
And then Dread gets on the mothership.
Yes, unbeknownst to Sonic.
Right, and then Sonic chases after them. We do get a brief shot of Sonic doing the Sonic Adventure box art pose in this one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which they tend to do. That was
kind of cool.
Tend to do every once in a while. I just thought this was, another okay episode. I feel, at this point, I was kind of feeling like we need to advance the plot now, so it's not just Sonic and his friends fighting egg forcers back and forth. I wrote down so far this season suffers from from feeling like the middle installment.
Yeah. Well, I have good news for you. In episode 5, we go to New York City, and guess what they do there?
New York City's the best setting.
It is, but guess what they do?
What?
They fight egg enforcers.
Well, I mean, they're going to do that every episode, but you can at least do it in a way where it feels like the plot is progressing.
No, I know. Yeah.
I mean, not to say that there isn't progression, but it's very minimal.
Yeah.
But they go back to so episode 5, which is titled A Madness to Their Methods, and this is directed by Andrew Duncan and Kieran Sangera, and written by Justin Peniston. The Chaos Council returns to New York City, and Sonic and Dread are there too. Now we got Dread in New York City.
Yes.
Which he kind of disappears in this episode.
While, yep.
We do get a scene of him falling from the mothership, and he's like panicking, and I'm like, dude, you can glide. Why are you panicking while falling?
He's too consumed with his beauty.
Yeah, his
beauty.
I couldn't remember if it was stated before, but apparently each member of the Chaos Council rules over their own district.
Yeah, they have their own district.
Of New York City, and the Resistance has members from all the districts, but it specifically started in Mr. Dr. Eggman's turf.
Right.
But their hideout is in Deep's district.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was like a nice bit of world building.
For sure.
There. I appreciate it knowing how they operate.
And I think this is also kind of the pinnacle of when Nine is kind of trying to manipulate them.
Yeah, and we see like the reason they have districts is because like they all have an ego and they all want to be the ruler.
Mm-hmm. And
they couldn't decide on who was going to be the ruler,
right.
So they were like, "Well, we'll just each carve out our own space."
And then I think it's this episode or the next one where they also decide, well, we'll do the same thing in the Shatterverse.
Right.
Each of us will have one of our own spaces.
Yeah, and we see that like the reason we have 5 Shatterspace dimensions is because we have 5 Eggmans that can take them over.
Exactly,
so we have New York,
yep.
No Place, Boss Cage. The Grim and Ghost Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's their plan, is to give each one of those to each member of the Chaos Council.
Yep. And they start doing that.
Right. So Sonic meets up with the Resistance again. This is like when we see them again. We see
Rocky Balboa, Knuckles,
Renegade, and Rebel. And I did like how Rebel Rouge tells Sonic, except you always make things worse. And I'm like, you're not entirely wrong in this show. Wrong. But I thought it was funny. Renegade hates pirates. Famous last words.
Yeah, really.
So this is the episode where we get the jumbo egg forcers.
Right.
So we find out that the prism shard can be used to make robots bigger.
Yes, it can. Well, it has infinite energy, so I guess they can just use it to do whatever they want. It's kind of more. It's
kind of starting to feel like a catch-all MacGuffin.
It is.
Just to kind of do whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Which, I mean, Sonic has a lot of catch-all MacGuffins. Mm-hmm. The Phantom Ruby kind of very much felt like that in Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania. I wrote down it took the Chaos Council long enough to figure out that 9 was screwing them over, but at least they finally got.
They did get there eventually.
Yeah. So Sonic and the Resistance are trying to go infiltrate their base, and they go down to the subway to get there, and they have a little bit of a fight down there. I thought it was really dark how they had the robots that would pick people up and then dangle them in front of the trains.
Yeah.
I was like, that's terrifying.
Just a little visual gag.
Yeah, visual gag, yeah. Oh, 9 gives them the idea that... So 9's kind of like, you're never going to beat Sonic.
Right.
He gives Mr. Dr. Eggman the idea, it's like, oh, well, we'll just make our own Sonic.
Yes.
So that's kind of the... And then 9's like, oh, man, I screwed up. So... They make Chaos Sonic, which I wrote down as not Metal Sonic.
Very definitely not Metal Sonic. He's more like Deadpool Sonic, if he really had to put a name to him.
He looks like Metal Sonic,
yeah,
but he has like a screen for like a visor for a face,
and he talks,
and he
won't shut up.
Yeah,
I love the idea of this. That it's Chaos Sonic, right?
It's called Chaos Sonic.
I love that Chaos Sonic is so annoying.
Very annoying.
That even Sonic is like, man, you're a little bit like too much. Like, can you just?
And this is from a version. And this is from a version of Sonic that's a little bit too much. Sometimes.
It's like I think it's a great idea. He's such a good foil to this Sonic.
Yeah, I
think.
But that they kind of have their fight next episode.
Yeah.
As for, I mean, is there anything else we got to say about this specific episode? We got the Jumbo Egg Forcers. No, I guess we'll just sum this one up. I like this one. I liked it more than the previous ones. Again, it improves. This one had some intrigue and some twists and some interesting character interactions. Like we get the Egg Council or Chaos Council, and them bickering, which is great.
Always fun.
So overall, I thought this was a good episode.
Yeah.
And I like being back in New York.
Yeah, I think this is where the season starts to swing up again.
Right. Again, always when we get to New York, it's like it improves.
More fun, yep.
Yeah. Episode 6, this one's Double Trouble, and this is directed by Ishii Rudel and written by Marcus Reinhardt. Right off the bat, it's weird that, again, we talked about this before, weird that Sonic is surprised to see a robot version of himself. If this is supposed to be Game Sonic, and... Also, why is this not Metal Sonic? Because I guess these are different Eggmen.
Yeah, they're different Eggmen. They have different egg ideas.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess the creators of the show, I mean, I guess they had to consider Metal Sonic, but they were these are our own villains.
Yeah, I think it was a good choice. I like the idea of Chaos Sonic for this Sonic specifically. It makes sense.
Right.
Metal Sonic for... Video game Sonic makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I love the idea. It's like what was that horrible? Do you remember watching that horrible X-Men Wolverine Origins movie where Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool?
Not Deadpool.
Well, he was, and then they sewed his mouth shut because he was so annoying.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Chaos Sonic in this. I don't know. Like I thought it was funny.
He's like X-Men Origins Deadpool.
Yeah. Which is great.
Before they sew
his mouth shut. So I'm pretty sure he comes back in season 3. I think it'd be really funny if he just didn't talk the whole time. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
He gets destroyed at the end of this episode.
I know.
So he lasts one episode.
Yeah,
which
he's
is
just
funny.
there for one episode.
Yeah. I also wrote down Sonic sure does fall into the trash a lot in this show. Like constantly.
He deserves it.
They don't point it out though. I thought it would be like a running gag, but it just keeps happening. I guess it is a running gag. They just don't call attention to it.
Right.
I did like the Sonic and Knuckles. Well, it's Renegade, but the Sonic and Knuckles team up to fight Chaos Sonic. That was really cool. It's short, but I don't know, man. I really like seeing Knuckles fight a robot Sonic. Maybe because I'm an old fan and I grew up with Sonic and Knuckles, where his last boss was Mecha Sonic.
Yeah.
And also in Knuckles Chaotix, the last boss is Metal Sonic.
Right.
So I don't know. I always kind of viewed like Metal Sonic as being a potential rival to also Knuckles in a weird way. Sure. I that's more of my like old school fan kind of thing. They also fight in Sonic Heroes when they fight Metal Overlord.
Spoilers. I'm just kidding.
Spoilers for a really old game.
Yeah.
decades old game. But yeah, Chaos Sonic is just kind of a really annoying talking metal Sonic.
I just love it. I just think it was a good idea.
He has a Smash Brothers reference where he says, "You're too slow." Chaos Sonic says that to Sonic.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a Smash Brothers reference. I'm wondering if any of the Chaos Council are going to betray each other, like if they're ever going to betray each other at some point and try to take all 5 of the Shatter Spaces for themselves.
I feel like it's an inevitability.
I feel like maybe Mr. Dr. Eggman might do that because he's kind of like the main one. I can kind of see that. Although, like, again, I'm kind of hoping we get a shake-up with the villains next season, which we'll get to.
I believe we are.
We get to episode 8.
Oh, that reminds me. I forgot. We were talking about making bigger robots. Dr. Deep, of course, had the idea, well, let's just put flamethrowers
Yeah, there's
on
a whole
everything.
argument. That was last episode. They have a whole argument where they were like, Deep wants flamethrowers.
Done it wants bigger robots.
And Babel wanted, like, what, lasers or something?
Lasers, lasers.
Someone wanted buzzsaws, I think. I think that was...
maybe.
I think that was Babel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, I really liked the joke where... Because Dunnett's been making fun of Deep the entire time for being like a hipster.
Yeah.
And Deep's like, yeah, barbecue. They keep calling Sonic the Rat, and they call Nine the Rat too.
Yeah,
right?
they just call them all rats.
Which is interesting. But he's like, yeah, barbecue the rat, barbecue him, and he's like, of course, only to kill him. I'm a strict vegetarian otherwise.
Yeah, I
just thought that was great.
I thought that was a good line too. I think Dr. Deep is still my favorite.
I was hoping you would say that because he's my favorite.
Yeah,
too. He's the best
of the Chaos Council.
Yeah,
I also like when they're fighting Chaos Sonic. I thought the fight with Chaos Sonic was good.
Yeah, it was
mostly
okay.
because Chaos Sonic was kind of like a formidable foe, and he was kind of like beating the crap out of Sonic the whole time.
Yeah,
I did notice that he does that throw attack a lot where he would grab Sonic and like spin his whole body and throw him. I was kind of hoping that Sonic would eventually catch on to that move and stop falling for it, but it never happens.
No, not very smart in this universe.
No. We finally get Knuckles and Knuckles.
Knuckles and Knuckles.
Knuckles and Knuckles with Dread and Renegade.
Oh, that was Sonic's like really corny line. He was like, "What better? How do you like the best way to fight is with Knuckles, with your 2 knuckles or something like that."
It was corny, but I kind of liked it.
It worked.
Yeah, the double Knuckles punch was incredible.
Yeah, and Rouge was just like, "This is weird, and I do not like this."
She says that,
but
yeah, I did write down also the pair of Knuckles line is kind of amusing.
Yeah.
Again, this is the part where Dr. Dunn starts standing up to the other guys. I do kind of like how he's butting heads with the other Eggmen over disrupting space-time, because Nine says, like, what you guys are doing is going to screw everything up.
Yeah, it's dumb.
And
don't do it.
The only one who's like taking his advice seriously is Dr. Donnet. And he was like, I agree with him. Like we should be careful with what we're doing. And that's what made him a more interesting character.
Sure.
To me. Like that there was like, oh, he's like elevated now. Like he's different in his thinking, and like he is cautious about like their actions. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated that about nuancing his character a little bit instead of just making him another Eggman who thinks like the rest of them. It just makes him stand out a lot more. And again, I think they're utilizing him and some of the others in general better this season. Yeah, Chaos Sonic, they beat him. First off, like the 2 good blows Sonic lays on him, it's kind of done in a very similar way. I think he has him. Sonic jumps in front of a truck, and then he kind of leads Chaos Sonic into the truck, and he gets hit by the truck.
Right.
And then he comes back later, and then Nine kind of is directing Sonic and helping him. And he leads him into what were they firing? They were firing they
were like missiles or something, right?
Yeah. And he kind of leads Chaos Sonic into that,
the missiles,
and that's what finally destroys
him, and he breaks into pieces.
So Sonic never defeats him by like punching him or spin dashing him. It's more like he has to trick him because he's just so powerful.
Yeah, he's great. He's better than the regular Sonic.
Yeah, in this show he is. But it gets rid of him, and he's in pieces, and the Chaos Council finds him. We don't really get much of a resolution to that besides they're just like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some spoilers for season 3. He's coming back, so.
Oh. Well,
you didn't know that? Okay.
No, I didn't know that.
It was in the marketing.
The only thing, I was spoiled on a couple things, but I mostly just know that like Nine is going to take a bigger role in it. Yeah. This episode, Yeah, it was all right. I liked it. Action. I thought the action was good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Nine doing his thing.
Yep.
And again, while Chaos Sonic was very annoying, I did like his fights. So.
Yes.
So how do we I'm going to look up how we transition into the next episode. What was the ending of this one?
I think it's when Chaos Sonic gets destroyed, isn't it?
It's when Chaos Sonic gets destroyed, but you know how like every episode kind of ends with like a cliffhanger, and it's just like,
oh yeah, I guess so.
they always end very abruptly, and they're just like, it's kind of the lead in.
Do 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 do, or however the song goes.
Yeah,
we should just end the episode right here.
We should, and then we'll pick it up.
Pick it up next time.
Yeah. Now we're on
episode 7.
Episode 7, Cracking Down, directed by Joel Salesay and written by Patricia Valledo. I forgot what. Yeah, I even wrote down. I forgot what happened at the end of the last episode and had to go back to remind myself.
Nice.
LOL. It ended abruptly, so I could see why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I couldn't remember. So we get to see what Nine was up to last season. He built the ship and then he put the prism shard in the ship. We see him finding the Grim, and he's like, this place is perfect because nobody's here. And he's like, I'm just gonna build my perfect world here. And we see he's like building the world, but he's also building it like primarily on like what Sonic would like. So he's like using the prism shard to make palm trees.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Sonic would love this. So you could see he's got his heart set on like making the perfect world that him and Sonic could live in. So I did think it was interesting that the prism shard had the power to turn rocks into palm seeds. Yeah. So it's just reality altering.
Yeah, it just alters reality.
Yeah, I did look it up on the wiki. It states that they could just alter reality, which is that's the whole point of the show. It makes sense.
Yeah, right.
I just didn't think it would extend to simply transmuting objects. Into
why not? I can make new universes. Why not?
I guess
at that point.
There's no power in New York City, or no, the ship. Yeah, there's no power in the mothership, but the mothership's able to keep going because of the residual prism energy, which I thought was, that's convenient, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. I think it's very telling that we keep having to check the synopsis of every episode. I should have skimmed the episodes last night. No, but the fact that we have to keep doing it says a lot about the show.
Didn't have this problem. I didn't have this problem with season 1.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I finished the season. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I watched that.
Yeah.
I think this is the episode where Shadow tells Sonic that he and Nine don't want the same thing, too.
Well, that's like in the finale.
Oh, it is in the finale? Okay. So I totally don't remember what happened in this episode, then.
This is the one...
Oh, Nine starts getting all the shards together. They go to Ghost Hill, right?
Yeah, they go to Ghost Hill by the end of the episode, but I think this is the one where they go back the Boss Cage maze.
Right, and get all the shards, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they collect the 3 shards. So
that's right. Yeah, this is the episode where they're going
Boss
back.
Boss Cage and Nowhere. They get all 3 shards.
And this is also the episode where the Chaos Council starts terraforming the...
Yeah, and they start press a button and buildings start growing on all the other Shadowverses.
Yeah. Should we was this a...
No, keep it.
All right.
That's what happened.
I didn't know if we were actively going to use this recording.
Yeah.
So this is the episode where they're going back and forth between the shatter spaces and collecting the shards. The Chaos Council open up portals.
The forced portals that are really bad.
They look bad?
No, they're really bad for the
Oh, I thought you said they look bad, because I was going to say really I appreciate how the portals are color coded.
No, I thought they were cool, yeah.
Yeah, you could tell which each shatter space they each go to. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I liked that Nine met some of his other counterparts and was just very unamused by them. He was like, no.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, he was like, I don't like this. This makes me feel uncomfortable. I think this is the episode where we get 3 Amy's at the same time, which I think is the most variants that have been in one place together. It's Rusty, Thorny, and Black Rose.
Yeah.
I like how Sonic asks Nine if they can escape through the decaying portal, and because this is the part where they're in New York City and they're flying around and they're trying to outrun the Chaos Council. So I liked how Sonic asks if they can escape through the decaying portal, but Nine says, I don't trust it, and opts instead to make his own portal.
Right.
I feel like most stories would have had the heroes just be like, no, we got it's our only option and attempt to go through the portal anyway. But it's like 9 was smarter and more pragmatic than that.
Yeah.
But they eventually do go through the portal anyway because they have no choice. But
right.
I like how 9 explores other options before
it was cool.
going with the obviously dangerous
thing. Yeah, for sure.
There's a nice shot in New York City when the Kraken flies over Sonic and 9. I was also wondering, how did Rusty get there without a prism shard, though?
We're going to assume that the ship has some sort of...
maybe more residual energy
or something.
Yeah. So... the Chaos Council starts, they shoot their laser into each of the shatter spaces, and you can see like a new New York City like
being built
in each place. I put down when they were doing it to No Place. I was like, great job, Chaos Council. Your city in No Place is flooded, stupid idiots.
Yeah, really. They remade Venice.
Yeah. I did like the Knuckles versus Knuckles fight because we get a part where Renegade and Dread are fighting.
Yep.
It's a fight I never knew I wanted.
Yeah, really. The only thing that can stop a bad Knuckles with the Prism Shard is a good Knuckles with a Prism Shard.
Yeah, this is the one where they go. Yeah, they go in. He goes into No Place, and he's like tugging them around on a boat.
Right, that's right.
He's tugging 9 around on a boat.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I don't like.
That was kind of.
He was like, again, like, I just like 9 is just very like sour about everything. He's like, I don't like anything we're doing right now.
I thought that was kind of a nice sequence.
Yeah.
I did hate the. I always hate it. I hate when Sonic said "gotta go fast."
I love it every time he says "gotta go fast."
I'm not a fan of that being like an actual thing that he says.
I'm sorry to tell you, it is an actual thing now.
It is now.
It is.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if I'm in the minority there, but personally speaking, not a big on that. We finally get 9 and Shadow together, the two best boys in this show.
Mm-hmm.
9 lampshades Sonic Adventure 2 by pointing out how Shadow looks like Sonic, and Shadow finally called himself the ultimate life form in this episode.
He sounded like nothing like him.
I'm the ultimate life form.
Yeah.
Modern grumpy Shadow seeps through with when he says that sycophantic wish fulfillment line.
Oh yeah, that was kind of a weird line.
Remember, kids, Shadow has no friends.
No friends at all.
Please put that gun away, Mr. Sega. See, even Sonic says in the show that Shadow doesn't have friends.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're setting up that 9's going to betray them because they get all the prism. They get the prism shards together, and they go up into what they call it the Mountain Temple or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
Which is where the prism shard shattered in the first episode. In the first place. And they go up there, and 9's like, we can't just slap them in there.
They have to be perfectly
They have
aligned.
to be carefully put in. So he's like, I'm going to do it. And it's Shadow's like, he's obviously like up to something. He
wants something different from you.
Yeah. And Sonic's not listening. And he's like, no, I trust him. You know, he's my friend.
And meanwhile, 9 throughout this whole episode has been like, that reminds me, like totally just changing the subject randomly. Like, that reminds me of something really cool I want to show. He just wants to bring Sonic to the Grim.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to do. He's like, oh, yeah, sure, yeah, Sonic, yep. By the way, we got to go do this other thing.
Right. This is also the episode where he sees original Tails. He sees the after image.
That's right, and he realizes
he's like, I don't like this. Like, I'm not like this guy at all.
Right, and you're basically trying to delete me to go back to this guy.
Yeah.
And so I think it is interesting, and I think this episode does it well. Sonic and 9 are both so focused on their own goals, they're not really listening to each other at all.
No.
And it shows you that Sonic still hasn't figured out the true meaning of friendship that we talked about in Season 1. And it shows you that 9 is this sort of parallel version of Tails who doesn't feel that way. And he's so obsessed with the perfect idea of Sonic being his friend that he doesn't actually care about the actual Sonic in front of him.
Yeah, that's a really good way. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It just feels like a powder keg that's going to go off because like they're working together, but you know they're going to get to a certain point where their goals are not going to line up anymore.
Completely different, yeah. And that's what the fight's going to be over, I think, in Season 3.
I thought this one was a good episode.
Yeah, me too.
I thought this was the best one since the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It has some great action and visuals and good character moments.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we'll get into the second one, which our last one. It's not second one. We get into the last episode, which I actually watched with our producer last week. This is episode 8, Ghost of a Chance, directed by Andrew Duncan and Kieran Sangera, written by Marcus Reinhardt. This is the part where I wrote down I thought the Egg Forces have gotten stale.
Yeah.
They're, I would have really appreciated if they had different designs, but again, that's expensive and more work, 3D modeling. This is the one where they're in Ghost Hill and Nine is rebuilding the Paradox Prism.
Yes.
But the mothership comes into Ghost Hill, and we get the battle in Ghost Hill.
Yep.
I thought Shadow had some really great action. I really like the moment where he's surfing on the Egg Forcer.
Oh, that was so cool. Yeah.
That was really fun. There's a part where Nine gets enough of the Paradox Prism together where the ghost versions like flicker back into the real versions. I thought that was interesting that the ghost versions of the characters are actually them.
I guess so, yeah.
It's not like oh, this is just like an after image and then like all the variants have to fuse back into.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way.
It's literally them separate from the variants.
So there is maybe a chance that the ending of this show will be all the spaces continue to exist. I guess it's possible.
We'll have to see.
I don't know.
When we get there, I still feel like that most likely this is all going to be.
I would
correct it.
Think so.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's a part where Sonic has to go back and go back to 9, and he's like, why don't you charge me up with the Paradox Prism Energy? And he becomes, the form is called Shatter Sonic, and he kind of like leaves after images kind of like hypersonic, and he gets like extra powerful and fast.
Which can talk to him.
Yeah, he talks to himself.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. Chaos Council, they make their own thing. They make the Prism Titan or the Prismatic Titan.
Yes, which is just Eggman.
It's just a giant Eggman. It's like a kaiju Eggman.
Yes.
He's brought down by Sonic Jaeger.
Yes.
I do appreciate how they're kind of pulling out like all different kinds of ideas for this finale.
Yeah.
This one feels like a finale. Like I felt like the last episode of the first season didn't really feel too finale-ish. This one does feel kind of like
it's a big deal. It's a big
episode.
Moment.
Yeah. When Sonic gets powered up and he becomes Shatter Sonic, he's charged up with 3 of the Prism shards.
Yes.
And then they put a 4th shard in, and then they charge him up again.
Yeah.
And he becomes he's still Shatter Sonic, but it's like a new stage.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's kind of like
more
purplish.
Powerful, yeah.
And that's how they beat the Titan. How did you feel about Shatter Sonic? Did you like the design of it, or?
At first I was like, oh, is it going to be like kind of a super form? And it
kind of feels like that.
It feels like it, but it's also it's not. I guess what it reminds me of, and this is going to be like a really like weird deep cut. It really reminds me in Kamen Rider. Every season they have like the mid-season upgrades so they can sell more toys.
Yeah.
And it's like a cooler suit that looks very similar to the original suit, but it's like a kind of a different color and cooler looking. Before like 20 episodes later, they introduce like the actual final form. Do you know what I mean? And that was like, for me, I was like, oh, this is just another like toy that they're going to make.
I wonder if there is a Shatter Sonic toy. I just typed in Shatter Sonic toy, but I
don't think there is one yet, but I think they will probably make one in the future because there are more Sonic Prime toys that are going to be coming out.
Do you think this form will come back maybe next season?
I think we'll see the final form of this with the 5th shard.
Okay.
There's 5 shards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would want to see from his final shard form is I want to see him turn yellow a little bit or gold or something.
I feel like that'd be too much like Supersonic, though, wouldn't it?
That's the point, isn't it?
Is it going to make him Supersonic?
No, it's like Shatter. It's like full power Shatter Sonic.
I guess.
I don't know. It just felt like he should have turned a different color. Like he kind of gets purplish, but it's not. And there's kind of the red, the green, and the blue kind of around him, but it's not. I don't know.
Well, it's supposed to be like all the colors of the prism.
I get it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
His hair didn't even like go up or anything.
No, it didn't do anything with that. Shadow's warning Sonic the whole time. He's like, you know, he's gonna betray you, and then he does.
He does.
He gets angry when Sonic says, like, no, I'm doing this to fix everything. Sonic wants 9 to come live in Green Hill with them.
Yeah.
That's what it basically sounds like. And he's like, I want you to be friends with everyone else. And be friends with Tails and stuff. And he's like, 9's like, I don't want that. Right. Like, I was going to take all these to the Grim. And that's what he kind of ends up doing at the end of this. And then Shadow gets to have his, like, I told you so. Well, he doesn't really do that, but there's an I told you so moment he could have. And Sonic's just kind of upset about the betrayal. I wrote down, like, again, as much as I think the Chaos Council's improved in this season, I hope 9 just kind of takes over from here.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need them as much anymore.
I agree, and I don't think they are a great final villain. I think 9 would be. I think there would be a better emotional conflict between Sonic and 9. Yeah, that's worth exploring. I mean, that's the whole plot of this show. The whole plot of this show is Sonic and Tails' relationship.
I agree with
that. It literally opens with the first episode of the first season opens with Sonic not listening to Tails. Yeah. And Tails being kind of like upset about that, and like that's even like Amy's thing. It's like you're not paying attention to us.
Yeah, you're not listening to your friends.
Right. As we said with 9, like they're not listening to each other.
Yeah.
So that theme is that's the through line.
All there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's being carried out throughout the show. So I think it makes sense to end it with 9 because that's what this whole story is about. Again, I thought this was a pretty good finale. Again, I think the show starts out really good, it ends really good, and then the middle just kind of drags.
I agree with that for sure, and hopefully they can fix that in season 3.
I think when the show is doing the main plot stuff, it's really good, and some of the characters shine more than others.
Yeah.
The middle of the story spins its wheels.
Yeah, the Boss Cage characters are so boring. Nobody cares about them.
Yeah. Season 3 needs to bring more moments where we need to bring more characters together. I think it's fun when the variants are meeting each other.
I assume that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
At this point.
I think what they need to do is, again, it's already been done. I mean, it's already out. But what I would like to see when we watch it is they kind of like maybe form a group of the most important ones.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And kind of like streamline like the heroes and who we're following. Like if we got a group that was like Sonic, Shadow, Rusty, Dread, and maybe like a Rouge, like Rebel, I guess.
Rebel, probably.
Yeah, I feel like she's the biggest of the Rouges.
Yeah.
And then
all the Big the Cats.
All the Big the Cats, and they all fight 9.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good, good way to end this out. I personally, overall, while there are aspects of this season I liked better than season 1, I think I might like season 1 more.
Yeah, I think so too. The more, like when we first started, I was like, yeah, it was okay. The more we talked about it, the more I was like, I almost feel like I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't paying attention. It's that there was nothing to pay attention to.
That's the thing. I was paying attention and I was taking notes, but it's weird how we came into this and we were struggling to figure out what happened in each specific episode.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I didn't feel like I had that problem at all in season 1.
Season 1,
no. I just it was very easy to know what was going on in each episode.
I agree.
But this one, it was just like, hey, they're fighting Egg Forcers again, and they're fighting Egg Forcers again, and they're fighting Egg Forcers again.
It was definitely like Netflix syndrome, where they just want you to binge the show, and then you don't even know what you watched.
Which I'm not. I'm not a huge fan of the binge format, and I don't like it when shows are designed around that. Right. Personally.
Yeah, I think it's bad writing. Personally, they just they draw it out on purpose to fill episode time so you watch it longer.
That's been a problem with like a lot of Netflix shows for me.
Yeah, I mean, this show probably could have been 5 episodes long, and it maybe would have been stronger, honestly.
Yeah, well, and that's something we'll touch on next season because the next season is 1 episode shorter.
Oh, okay.
It's 7 episodes instead of 8, so we'll have less to watch.
Cool. Okay.
One less to watch.
Right, but that's okay. Hopefully, it's tighter.
I have high hopes for season 3. Like I think like when you see how this show does better in its like opening episode and its finale episodes, I kind of hope that carries over to the show as a whole. So we got like a really good first season and then like a kind of like a whatever second season. Maybe we'll get a really strong third season because it's the finale.
Yeah,
and we got something to end it with, a conclusion.
For sure. That'd be good.
All right. Well, I guess we rambled on enough about
just a bit.
Yeah. Let's pick this up
next time,
and we'll talk about season 3.
All
right, everyone.
Bye.
Later. Oh no, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. He's gonna overload. He's overloading his prismatic energy.
Just hit the stop button. I'm waiting for you.